Hello, everyone. So this is a great question. It all leads to affordability. I am someone who has spent my entire life in this district. I'm a lifelong New Yorker, but specifically, I have spent my entire life walking up and down these streets, so I know what the issues are from corner to corner. So when we talk about affordability, you're absolutely right, we're talking about space. And we're talking about space in every sense of the word. Housing, small businesses, services, even where our transportation is, right? Every single square inch of space is speculated on in New York City. And I think it's about time that our working class families, and specifically artists, got their fair share. Thank you. So my background is working in activism. And before I worked inside of the city council, and I'll tell you a little bit about kind of the budget process and how important that is to maintaining this kind of survival of our independent theaters, I worked at good old Lower East Side. And I worked organizing tenants, a lot of them artists who have been here a long time, and a lot of them that are new to the neighborhood. And my campaign will be inclusive, it will include everyone. But what I always said is that we have to really link arts and activism. It is the one thing that truly brings us all together. It is intergenerational, and it is something that you can put youth and senior citizens in the room and you can still have a constructive conversation. So what I want to do, yes, I want to utilize the underutilized space. I want to go into NYCHA, into some of these commercial storefronts that aren't being used, and I want to make sure that by using the city council funds that we are giving it back to our institutions. I remember my experience going to see a show at, well, it wasn't PS 122, but we will open those doors soon. It was in the Connolly Theater, and I saw this wonderful show called Mission Drift in the style of Jacques Brel. Who can say that they can see that on East 4th Street? Nowhere else but East Village and District 2. So I will fight for this funding. I will make sure that I fund the community-based organizations that are doing the work, and I really, really am proud to be running in my hometown.
Raise your hands if you are willing to be a co-sponsor to Ben Kalis's City Spaces initiative to create a searchable database of unused or underutilized city-owned spaces. Great. Raise your hands if you will clearly and visibly list your stances on issues facing indie theater and the performing arts on your campaign's website and literature. Okay. You support campaign finance reform and getting money from PACs, super PACs, or special interests out of political campaigns at all levels. You commit to covering the gap created if there are cuts on a federal level to the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities. You support a path to citizenship for artists who come to this country to perform or work on indie theater productions. You support the efforts by the New
So as your councilwoman, one of the first things that I would like to do, of course, is to make sure that I am in touch with the groups that are doing the work. I think that one of our responsibility, hopefully as your representatives, is to make sure that we are funding the groups that are on the ground, that are there every day. And I know that performing artists, it's a very, very diverse category. Just the people in this room, the clapping in the beginning, and all of you that fill these special roles to create this amazing community. And I think that arts is really important to our holistic health. It is really, really important that it's just present every single day. It's not just something that should be after school. It's not just something that should be in elementary school. It should be throughout our lives. And it's really about creating an accessible environment. And I think that what you're doing here at LIT is really using organizing and using political engagement in the right way. So, you know, we have a very, very diverse district. And you mentioned a lot. You mentioned small businesses, you mentioned the tech hub. And I think that what we fear is that we're gonna become a very sterile a city of neighborhoods. And we're gonna lose that authenticity and that grit that makes some of them so special and so unique. And I think what we have to do is realize that there are still some really amazing pockets where there are artists that need to be tapped into. It doesn't seem like it, but this block right here is very, very far from the almost 10,000 units of public housing that are on the waterfront. So I wanna be able to build partnerships, really build bridges, and make sure that we're nourishing our artists. There are people who have been here a long time. I'm only still here because I still live in the building where I grew up my entire life. And I want to make sure that the young people that come in, whether they're able to live here or not, have the space to work and really have the space to create partnerships so we could create and maintain a very, very culturally diverse and beautiful district. Well, everyone, I want to thank you, of course. I see people here in this room that I have worked with in the past. And so my career has been spent coalition building and building these partnerships. I will never say I've done anything alone. It has always, always been with groups and with the pioneers of this community. This district has a pioneering spirit, and we know how to do a lot with a very little. So when we talk about the cultural institutions group and how much money and power there is there and how we want to expand that list, we have to be ready for a fight. And I'm a fighter. I've always been a fighter. I was raised by strong, strong women, and that's who's always at the forefront of the movement. And that's what this is. This campaign is an opportunity for us to be inclusive, for it to be pushed by people power. I know so many artists in here and who have been displaced. And what I want to do, I know it's going to be an uphill battle, and it's going to be challenging. Being a city council person is probably one of the most challenging positions in the city. But I will be here to fight for the funding that we need and to make sure we have arts in our classrooms and everywhere. It is so important to our health, and I hope to have your support.